Should I buy property at auction? So in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons, whether you should or shouldn't, and more importantly, if you do decide that you want to buy property at an auction, then how to do it right to make sure that you mitigate the risk, and more importantly, make sure you make a profit. Because buying property at auction comes with a lot of risks, and I don't want you to fall foul to those. I want to make sure that you buy right, because ultimately in this game of property and this game of investing, it's all about making the return, it's all about making a profit. So we're going to cover all of this. So my name is Paul McFadden, and as always, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell to be notified when we put out video content. Now, if you're listening or if you're watching, you're going to notice and see a change of scenery, or if you're listening, you're going to hear some birds in the background, you might hear some of the ocean, the wind and so forth, and that's because at this time of the year, December through January, I'm always in Costa Rica. My wife is from Costa Rica, and for the last 7 years, we've traveled here. We travel out here 2 or 3 times a year. We've got a property business over here. We do a number of developments. This is something I want to continue to grow over here in Costa Rica while the business is still running back home in the UK. So if you're watching and wondering, hey, this does not look like the UK, especially Scotland at this time of year, it's because I'm here in Costa Rica. So let's get back to the topic about should you buy property at auction or not. Now, let me just give you my quick overview of that, and then let me go into a bit of the more detail that's going to assist you and help you if you choose to. So I'm a big believer that auctions is the last place that you go. There's only one reason you should go to a property auction. So stay tuned, and I'm going to tell you that very reason. That's the only reason you should go to a property auctions, and it's not the reason you might think. And if you actually take this on board, it will change your whole game in the sense of basically what you do in this property business to actually make money working with other people. And that will become clear towards the end of this video. Okay. Now, the reason I say that you should not go and buy property at auctions is because there's far too many emotional buyers there. You know, think about it, it's that amateur investors tend to go to property auctions. When you speak to people who are thinking about getting involved in property, or have got 1 or 2 properties looking to buy more, you ask them, hey, where do you source your properties? They mainly think of 2 different places. The first being estate agents, and the second being property auctions. Now, let's just address a couple of things. No estate agent is going to bring you an abundance of deals for you to have a successful property business of having 5 to 10 properties a year. You've got to take marketing into your own control so you can basically control the flow of deals coming your way, for you to decide what you're going to add to your portfolio, for you to decide what you're going to buy, add value and sell, or whatever other investment strategies you're working on. Likewise, if you're going to a property auction, you're in competition with a lot of amateur investors. Those who believe, because they've watched too many TV programs like Home Under the Hammer, where they're going to, think where they're going to buy a property and basically, do it all up, and they're going to make a lot of money. Now, if you actually watch that TV program, the way it goes is most people don't make money. They actually lose money. They spend too much money. They bought incorrectly in the first place. They spent too much in the refurb. And one of the common themes that you see all the time is underlying problems that they never even thought existed will pop up. That's what makes a great TV program, all right? And hey, you get a nice finished article at the end when it's been fully refurbed and it looks great. But what you do see some of it is the stress that comes with that. And more importantly, you definitely don't see the accurate figures and whether they've made money or not. They give a high level overview. In my experience working with many investors, very few, if any, get it right when they're buying at auction. So think about it. If you're in an auction house and there's a lot of people bidding, anytime I've looked at a property that's going to an auction, I turn around and go, okay, I need to pay X. I need to pay this amount. That's the maximum, not where I'm going to start, but that's the maximum I can pay. And if I pay that, then it works for my investment criteria. That's the first thing that a lot of amateur investors don't do when it comes to buying property, is they don't have a set investment criteria in the sense of what they need to buy in order for them to factor in all their numbers with their due diligence to make sure they make a profit, or to buy at the right price. It's going to allow them to basically buy, add value, and then basically add it to their portfolio. And remember, the key to keep on building your portfolio is to buy, add value, refinance, pull your money back out so you've got no money at risk so you can go again. This is how you can continue to build your property portfolio with the one deposit funds, the one property acquisition cost sitting there can literally go in and buy multiples of properties if you're buying right. If you don't buy right and you pay way too much than what you should have paid, or you overspend in a refurb, or you miss out some of the key numbers at the due diligence process when you buy the property, this is all going to have a knock-on effect on your profit and ultimately whether you're going to leave too much money in the property deal or not. So we need to look at this as an investor, not like the amateur who gets emotionally attached. Think about it. My first property purchase, the property I bought for my own home. Think about first-time buyers. First-time buyers like I was, maybe you can even relate, when I went to view my first property, and me and my partner at the time, we were hooked. We thought, we want this property. The kitchen looks great, it's walk-in condition, it's perfect. And what ends up happening is we get in a bidding war with a few other people, and we wanted the property so badly that we paid way over. Same goes at a property auction, but this time you've got lots of people bidding. And that emotion there, that kind of hype will then drive up the price. So what ends up happening is you know what you need to pay. And my experience is, looking at many people who have done this, they pay way over in the moment. And what you don't realise is the knock-on effect that's going to have on your figures and profit margins and so forth. Now, a few risks that we need to understand when we're buying at auction. First and foremost, most properties that are sold at auction, they're in the auction house for a reason, which means they come with underlying problems or issues. If they never had any problems, they wouldn't be in an auction house first and foremost. So the likelihood that's the last place a property goes when it can't be sold in the open market, can't be sold off market, because there's underlying problems and issues. Sure, there could be a bargain to be had, but again, when you're bidding against many emotional people, that's where all, the due diligence goes out the window. There's all the focusing on the right numbers and so forth goes out, because you get caught up in the hype. So we need to be aware of that. Now, most times there's no home report or survey, so you've got to have to spend that at your own expense. So you don't know, first and foremost, if you're going to get access to view. And if you do get access to view, what tends to happen is block viewing. So you're there viewing with many other people, which further hypes up that hype around this property. So you know that you're going to have to pay way more because there's many other people looking at it and thinking that they see an opportunity because the property's 9.9 times out of 10 run down. So when you're sitting there looking at everybody that's viewing the property, and no doubt the auctioneer or the viewing agent who's taking you around will be telling you that there's a lot of interest. And the date that it goes into auction will be a few months or a few weeks away. So there's more and more people viewing that property. So there's a lot of interest. And when you go along to the auction floor to bid, or if you're bidding over the telephone, there's just so much hype. And if you did spend money on basically getting a survey done at your own expense, if you don't win the property, your offer's not won there, then basically it's going to cost you more money. And the reason why most people don't do that is because they don't want that extra expense, but then not having that extra expense and the fear that they don't get the property is going to cost them more money once they do buy the property and underlying issues appear. Because once you buy on the day of auction, straight away you need to put down normally 10%. So if you're buying a property that's worth 100,000 and that's what you paid for, you're putting down £10,000 in day one, and mostly you've got to complete and inside of 30 days. Normally, sometimes that can be extended a little bit, but you're having to come up with all of the money. Now, if you don't have that sitting there in cash, then you're going to have to consider a bridge and finance or commercial loan, especially bridge and finance, which you can get short term, but it's super expensive. So again, that can throw your numbers out as well, especially if you bid way more than what your number was, which means you now need to go and get a bridge and loan, which is going to further increase all the costs associated. So we need to understand and think about all of this here when we're buying property at auction. First, it's in the auction house for a reason. There's an underlying issue or problem. Two, if you do get surveys carried out, it's an expense that you might be out and no guarantee you're going to win the winning auction bid. No guarantee there. Three, you're putting a lot of money down as soon as you make an offer, 10% normally, and you've got to complete in a short period of time, and you might need to use bridge and finance. It's going to cost you a lot more money as well. Another thing is the emotional aspect. You're bidding against lots of other people, and then it just takes a couple of emotional buyers to really jack up that price, and before you know it, you're bidding way more than what you should have in the first place. So that's the reason why I'm not a big fan at buying at auction. Now, where I am a fan of buying property that's going into an auction is if you buy pre-auction. So this takes you having a relationship with auctioneers and different auction agencies who auction off property. And there's no reason why you can't go in and say you've saw a property before it goes onto the auction floor, that you say, look, would the seller take a pre-auction offer? And if they do, then put an offer in, and you might just be lucky. The seller might not want to wait the few weeks or the couple of months until the property goes to auction. They might just want an offer, and they want it unconditional. They want it taken just now, and it means they don't have to wait for it to go to the auction floor, and they've got the offer that they wanted. So I would encourage you to only buy at auction if you can buy it pre-auction. And if you get a good relationship with the auctioneers or the agents that are dealing with the auctions, you might possibly get yourself a little bargain. But again, make sure you've viewed the property. If you're buying at auction, definitely take your builder or maybe a surveyor that's a contact or friend of yours. Someone's in your power team. You might have to pay them for their time and so forth, not to go and do a full valuation and survey report, but really just to give their expert opinion on what they think about the property and having a quick overview of any structural things or any dampness or any things that are going to cost a lot more than just a normal traditional renovation. Now, at the start of the video, I said that I'm going to give you one big tip for the very reason why you should go to a property auction. Well, in this property game, you should have what's called preferred investors. Preferred investors are very different from investors. Preferred investors, they will buy pretty much through very little discount. They want to buy a property where they can add value. They're not always looking to pull their money out while doing a refinance. They have to leave their money in the property deal. And they really don't have all the knowledge and expertise in the whole power team. And you're going to find lots of preferred investors at auction houses. So if you go to that auction house and you go to the corner of the back of the room and sit there and watch all the emotional bidders who keep on bidding and putting their hand up and keep on paying over the odds, or even if they just miss out on a few property deals, then you want to go and connect with those people, exchange business cards, exchange contact details, connect with them on social media, and realize that when you take marketing into your own control and start marketing and finding great property deals, if they don't fit your investment criteria, guess what? You have other buyers that you met at property auctions who are emotional and paying far too much, who are in the market looking for these type of deals, that you could pass deals that don't fit your investment criteria onto them, possible joint venture with them, definitely sell them for fees of upwards of £3,000 to £5,000 for sourcing an off-market deal and selling it onto them. We talk about deal trading, how to package up deals, how to get investment criteria right, how to do the right due diligence, how to do all of this stuff, how to source property deals yourself, not relying on estate agents or having to rely on auction houses. How do you do all of this stuff? Well, we talk about all of that on our program, Property Protege. So if you're maybe interested, you want to have a look at that, head along to propertyprotege.com and check that out and see what we do. You can even schedule in a call to discuss and have a chat and see if our program will be a fit for you as well. So, just to sum up here, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever attempted to buy property at auction? Have you actually bought property at auction? Could you be like Natalie Thomas, who's one of our proteges, who's gone through our program, who's actually successfully bought a property at auction and made over £100,000 profit? This is a property down in London that took a massive outlay of cost in terms of buying and the renovation cost that even got her on that very TV program, Homes Under the Hammer. So it's just exciting to see what can actually do, even though I'm saying I don't recommend you should buy property at auction. There is deals to be had, but it's the few. And thankfully, Natalie was armed with the knowledge of going through our Property Protege program to understand what to do, what to look for, and how not to get emotionally attached to make sure she's in a position to act and move fast and ultimately get a good deal. So if you've got the right knowledge and so forth, you can swoop in there and get a deal. But in a general overview, you've really got to be careful and take on board the things that I've covered in this video. So there's a question, comment please, I'm keen to hear. Have you successfully bought something at auction? If you have you made a profit? Let me know, I'd love to read that. Or what's some pitfalls that you've found yourself at buying at auction? Or what's your experience been when you've been to an auction house yourself? I'm keen to know. So thanks for listening, and as always, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification button to be notified when we drop out more videos. We've got a lot of content coming over the coming weeks. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again. All the best, and bye for now.